All right, here we go. Another show. I want to say thank you for tuning in. This is Brian MEJ, and I'm so thankful to have opportunity to talk with you today. Today's show's topic is about you, it's about other celebrities, and it's about life now. So, this is what God is saying about these topics. He has something to say about you, other celebrities, and about life now. I'll start out first of all by acknowledging that there's been a number of deaths in the world of celebrities, and I want to share my condolences. I definitely have genuine and deep sympathy for those that have lost loved ones. No matter how people have felt about those people, those were someone's babies, someone's children, someone's loved one, and it's definitely something to be compassionate about. Which leads me to a topic of you and other celebrities and about life now. So, you are very important. You obviously have thought about that at times, that you are, you know, somebody important. You are significant. There's something important about your life, and it's true. You may have felt contrary to that at times also, but I want you to know that God has such a great plan for your life, and He wants to fulfill that plan. He wants to accomplish all those great things that He's thought and planned about for your life. And so, get close as possible to Him, learn more about Him, and He'll help to do those things. You don't have to die prematurely. You don't have to suffer and be disappointed in life uh, because of the uh, works of the devils out there. No, you can have God's best. And even though there might be challenges at times, God will help you to triumph over that and through that, and He'll help you be victorious through Him. So, about other celebrities, I mentioned some have died recently within the past number of years. I don't know, past 5 years, let's say. And let's think about that. Some have died young. Like I seen a post that someone that was under 21 who was becoming more popular passed away. Now, let's think about that. That person, or not just that person, but the others as well, they had a level of fame, they had a level of what some have considered riches. They had enjoyed possibly even sex. And Let's talk about this topic right here of death and fame and riches and sex. What does God say about all of this? There's so many uh, lures. There's so many drawing influences that people have experienced. Some have been good, and some have been bad. So, what is it that all of us need to watch out for and be aware of and be stronger uh, in areas so that we can be more successful, be more prosperous, be more prepared and equipped to do the things that God has for us? What we need to do is we need to acknowledge that there's counterfeit, okay? God has given us the real thing, He's made the real thing available, but there's been counterfeit. So God has true riches. God has true fame. He has, sex is definitely something that God has put in place for those that are married, and by coming together as husband and wife, they can reproduce more children. Now, the counterfeit has been fake fame, fake riches, or short term riches, or riches that were given in exchange for doing works with the devils out there. And I mean, it doesn't last forever. I mean, at some point, people are going to have to face the consequences of the sin. And That's eternal on the other side. But the short-term riches, fame, the pleasures of the sex, the popularity, which is part of the fame, it's all been temporary if people are not, like Jesus said. He said, that it would be foolish. This is what he explained. It would be foolish for a person to, store up wealth in this life, but not have a rich relationship with God. So this is what the Lord is explaining. Why pursue those other things that are counterfeit and forfeit what he has for us, which is true, it's lasting, it's eternal. There's a lot of people that have been tricked up, a lot of people that have been misled by the misleading thoughts and emotions and feelings and excitements, and this counterfeit things that people have presented. And God doesn't want us to go that way, so there's the real that he has for us. So don't be tricked up by how some stuff has appeared or felt or sounded. There's a lot of money that people have, put out there to portray an image or to mislead people, and don't get mixed up in that. I spoke to even someone recently that was telling me that they've been making $30,000 a month. Is it true? Is it not true? I'm not sure. But with that kind of money, there's a lot of things that people will be able to do to falsify some type of image. Think about it. Think about it. A lot of people have paid to have a lot of followers or subscribers, or a lot of people have paid for publicity and with a number of videos and commercials and advertisements, and people saying these great things, and people being excited and celebrating certain people. It made it appear like these people have been more important than they really are in some cases. And it's been very misleading in some cases. But on the other end, God has a way where we can make enough money. It may be 30,000 a month, it may be less, it may be more, but it's all a matter of following God's plan, okay, knowing him and being a good manager over what we have. I remember a time when I was making, how much was it? I'm trying to think. I know my rent was less than like $600. I was able to pay off 2 vehicles debt-free. They weren't the most fancy vehicles, but one was like a year old. It was like a year old, and another one I had maybe for like over 5 years. But they both were paid off debt-free. My rent was only like less than 600 a month. I was able to focus on doing the things that I enjoyed. And most importantly, I had the closest relationship with the Lord at that time. It's more close now, I believe, but that right there was true riches by God's standard. I was almost out of debt. At the time, I had only like $5,000 worth of debt left. Well, actually, it was like $10,000, but still, once that would have been paid off, think about that. That's true riches compared to if someone has millions of dollars and they're still, in millions of dollar plus of debt, and they might have this appearance, but some things have been misleading. So let me talk more about this maybe at a later time. But definitely, I want you to text in. I want to share your testimonies. I would like for you to be featured on the next show. We could talk about what God says in reference to different life topics. Talk about your testimony. We can help some people. Let us know how God has helped you, your testimony. I want to hear your story. Summarize it. Text your name. to 602 303 2653 and add a short summary of your story, your testimony, how God has helped you, and how you believe that you can help other people. And I want to see if I can have you featured on the next show. Thank you for listening in. It's been such a great experience. I would like to experience this again with you in the future. Take care. The number 602 303 2653. Text in your name and summarize your story, your testimony, how God has helped you, and how you would like it to help others today. In conclusion to what you've already heard, I just want to add this, that as I was preparing for this show, God allowed me to remember about King Solomon. I was also thinking about Queen Sheba, and you could read about them in 1 Kings chapter 10. So that way you can see it from a male perspective and from a female perspective, and sovereign and of course supreme over that all is God's perspective. And so he gave us the writings in the Bible so that we could learn from him. So 1 Kings chapter 10, you could read about King Solomon and Queen Sheba. They both were very successful, had a lot of riches, a lot of resources. Think about it, king and queen. They were not necessarily king and queen together, but she was the queen of Sheba. He was King Solomon. He was king in Israel. And he was one of the richest and wisest kings ever. So God gave him so much, and he also gave so much to Queen Sheba. And so check that out in your own private time in 1 Kings chapter 10. It explains how they had so much, and you can learn a lot from that account, that story that's summarized even in 1 Kings chapter 10. Now, in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, King Solomon says something I want to leave you all with. And remember, this was one of the richest and wisest kings ever. And he explained this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. I'll start at verse 12. He says, "But my child, be warned." And so all scripture is inspired by God. So look at this as though God's Spirit is speaking to us through this person here. What can we learn from it? Listen for God's character and his truth so that you can determine whether this is what God is saying for us or not. And so here you can see in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 12, says, "But my child, be warned. There is no end of opinions ready to be expressed. Studying them can go on forever and become very exhausting. Here is my final conclusion. Fear God and obey his commands, for this is the duty of every person. God will judge us for everything we do, including every secret thing, whether good or bad." So I just want to give another opportunity to everyone to make sure, if you have not made peace with God, if you have been lying or practicing dishonesty or finding humor out of pranking people, or if you've been falsifying information, you've been presenting this image that you're more successful than you really are, or you've been stealing, or you've been committing adultery, having sex without being married, committing fornication, having sex without being married, having sex outside of your marriage, which is adultery. If you've been hating someone in your heart, God explains that you're a murderer at heart. If you've been watching pornography, you've been committing lust and adultery in your heart, if you've been loving idols, worshiping idols, if you've been dishonoring your father, your mother, uh, disrespecting them, if you've been cursing people, all of these things are sins, and I could go on, but just identify if you've been living a life of disobeying in any of these areas, disobeying God's commands. It's important that you turn from sin, you stop sinning, and you ask God forgive you. Put your faith in Jesus Christ, his death, his burial, his suffering, his burial, he went to hell, and his resurrection, and that he's going to return soon to make the world eternal and perfect for all whose faith and obedience is in him. So trust and obey him. Remain faithful to him. Ask God forgive you. Pray. Say, God, please forgive me. Turn your heart from the sin. Ask to be born again spiritually. And then continue in your relationship, reading the Bible, trusting and obeying the Lord in every area of life with his help. Thank you for watching this video, listening to this audio. I ask that you subscribe, click the thumbs up icon, click the bell once you subscribe, engage on the channel, and remember to not call, but to text in reference to possibly being on the next show or a future show. Thank you. The number 602-303-2653. God loves you.